Stop keyframing text. If you want a smooth, reactive look like this, keyframes are tedious and impossible to edit later. Instead, in this tutorial, we are building a smart setup. The text simply knows when your pointer is near, and it automatically lights up and moves. Whether you are setting up a simple text line, complex rotational menus, or functional UI buttons, the single system controls it all. It is completely automated, simple to set up, and built to save you hours of revision time. I am in After Effects, and we are going to start from the first scene, then work our way up to all the other scenes. In here we can find this little pointer, and as I move it around in here, you can see all the texts automatically reacting to it. They are pulled towards it, and they are also changing in color. So as you can imagine, this is super useful for multiple projects. So let's have a look at how I can create this. I'm going to go inside of this composition where I just have a simple background over it. And I am first going to optimize a little bit this background to make it look even better. I'm going to go over the rectangle tool in here, hold it and find the ellipse tool and go in the middle in here and hold down shift to draw like that. Now I'm going to go over the fill. We're going to use a radial gradient. And I would like the middle point in here to be like a nice pink, and this one could stay like that, but I would like its opacity to be at 0%. And now I can go to the pointer tool in here. Immediately we'll see these toggles in here. I'm simply going to pull the outward one and pull it towards the edge like this. And like this we have like a nice background light, and I'm going to call this background light. I can position it right down, right over here, make it a little larger, something like 120%, and we can go to opacity by holding T on our keyboard and give it like a 20% opacity. And there we go, now we have this subtle light in here, which enhances our background. Now let's start adding our text. I'm going to go to the text tool, click in the middle in here, and type in text. Now I'm going to select a font in here. I like to select something like Inter, and we're going to go for Inter Regular. And then we're going to give it a font size of around 60. And we're going to make sure that it's in the middle. And another thing that we need to check is the alignment. We're going to go to paragraph and make sure that it is right aligned like this. Great. So now I can duplicate this a few times. So I'm going to duplicate it around 9 times. And we're going to pull the 9th text all the way up. And the first one, we're going to pull it down like this. Then we are going to select all the texts. And we're going to go to the Align tool in here and go to Distribute Layers vertically. Click on that and automatically you can see them all distributed evenly like that. So now we have created an array of text layers in here, and now we can add our pointer. So we're going to add a pointer using the Ellipse tool once again. We're going to draw a very small ellipse right over here. We're going to go to the fill right over here, hold Alt on our keyboard and click on this until we find the solid color in here. It's white immediately, this is what I want, but if it's not, simply change the color from here. I'm going to call it pointer, so I'm going to position it around here for now, and that is perfect. Now the next thing is to actually add some color to these and create that nice color animation. So I'm going to pick my text layer in here. I'm just going to pick one for now. So this happens to be text 5. We're going to go to Effects and Presets, and we are going to put an effect called Gradient Ramp. So let's put Gradient Ramp right over that layer. And now this effect has these 2 pointers in here. It has this first pointer in here, the start of ramp, and it has this other pointer in here, the end of ramp. So I'm going to position the end of ramp at the end of the text right over here. And the other one, I'm going to position it almost next to the pointer right over here. Let's zoom up a little bit in here, and I can see those more clearly. And now one thing that I need to make sure is that these are aligned horizontally. So they are on the same horizontal line. So to make sure that they are aligned, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the start of ramp, and we have an X in here and a Y, and I need the Y to be the same. So I'm going to give this a value of 550, then go to the end of ramp, go to the Y of that value and give it a value of 550 as well. And now they are on the same horizontal line like that. So now we have that nice gradient. To see this more properly, I'm simply going to type in a longer word, and there we go. You can see that gradient right over there. Great, so we have our gradient, but right now it is still in grayscale. So to give this some color, I'm going to add a CC toner effect. Let's go to Effects and Presets, select CC toner, and drag and drop it right over there. So the first thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over the gradient ramp right over here, and I'm going to click swap colors. This way the black is over here and the white is over here. And then I'm going to go to the highlights in here, inside this is toner, and I'm going to give that a nice yellow color. So I'm going to use that nice color. And as you can see, this orange color is mapped on the white, on the highlights right over there. And I'm going to go over the shadows, and I'm going to give it the same color as the background, but slightly lighter. Let's go click on that now and make it slightly lighter like that. And as you can see, we can see that value right over there. And for the midtones, we're going to give it like a nice cyan. And that will be the middle point around here, maybe a little bit darker like that. Great, so now the colors are ready, and now I'm simply going to pick both of these colors in here, and I'm going to copy these, Command-C, and then paste them all over our texts like this. And there we go, we have our nice colors over all the text right over there. And I'm going to go over this, and I'm going to type again text right over here. Now, of course, this one has duplicate colors in here, so I'm simply going to delete this. Now it is correct. Great, so now we have all the text, all the correct colors, but still no animation. So let's add the animation. So to do this, I'm going to add a new layer called a null object in here, and I'm going to call this effector. Pick this pointer in here, and I'm going to parent it to that effector. So when I move the effector in here, the pointer moves with it like that. And now I'm going to go over the effector, and I am going to add some control layers. So the first one will be a slider control, simply drag and drop that right over there. And we are going to type in here radius. Now make sure that the naming of this is 100% like this, and even the name of the effector is 100% like that, since this is required for this step to work. The next part will be to duplicate this, so radius strength. And now I'm going to add another one, which is going to be now a point control, and actually is going to be a 3D point control. So put that right over there. And now we are going to rename this to position, space, and XYZ in caps. Make sure that it is 100% like that once again. So now we are done from adding these control layers, and now we just need to add an expression. Now, don't worry about that. I'm going to give you the expression myself. It's just one expression, and it should do the trick for us. So I am going to go over this document in here, which I'm going to give you and you can download for yourself. And I am simply going to pick the first expression, the position-based expression in here, copy it, Command-C, and then we are going to go over the text layer, that will be this one, and we are going to go over P for position, and simply hold Alt and click on the stopwatch in here, and simply paste this expression right over here. That's basically it, and by default it will give you this error, and that is because this layer is not in 3D. So make sure you switch it to 3D. And while we're at it, I'm going to switch all the other text layers to 3D in here. And this should fix the problem, as you can see. And then if I go back to the effector and go to the radius in here, what I am going to do is I'm going to go over radius and increase its size. So I need it to be around 300. If you don't increase the size of the radius, this won't work. So make sure that the radius is increased right over there. And I'm also going to tweak the position values in here. So I'm going to leave the X at 50 for now. This one I'm going to make it at 0. And then I can simply play with the X to see what this does. So I'm going to make it, for example, around -500. And there we go. Now we can see it being pulled. And if I move this effector up, you can see that like reacting exactly when the pointer is right next to it. And that looks perfect. Now, what I need to do is actually paste the same expression over all the other text layers. And to do that, it's very simple. Simply go over the position of this text layer, right click, and then click on copy expression only. So it's down below in here, copy expression only. Then we are going to go over all the other text layers and simply paste Command V on your keyboard. And now there we go. We have that expression working over all the other layers. And that looks perfect, and immediately you can see all of this working in here. You can see the text changing color, and you can also see it being pulled right over there. I'm holding my shift as I move this so that I keep the same vertical line here. So that's how you can create these text reaction animations, but hang in there since we are going to see how we can do the same thing, but in a rotation in a circle environment. But before that, I would like to really humbly ask you if you can simply like, comment, and even share this video. This would really help me to reach more people and do more videos like this one. Also, if there's any techniques that I don't cover in this video, please let me know in the comment section below and I will see if it is possible to add them on in a later video. Let us continue, and now we are going to have a look at how we can create this very nice rotational scene in here, where the pointer is actually highlighting different parts of this rotational diagram in here, all made of text, and the text is also reacting to it. This is slightly different than we did before, so let's jump right in. I am going to jump into this scene in here, which is basically like the scene before, but without the text. And for now, I'm going to remove the effector and the pointer and the background light. I'm just going to hide them so that we can just work on the text. I'm going to go over the text tool and I'm going to type in text right here in the middle, and I'm going to select that, align it vertically in here, and then I'm going to select it. Hold V to select the pointer tool, and then I'm going to move it to somewhere around here. So we're at around 1/4 of the screen in here. And now I'm going to go over the anchor point tool in here, and I'm going to zoom up in here, hold Command or Ctrl on your keyboard, and we can just move this and snap it to the center of this text like that. That is perfect. Now I'm going to zoom out back again, and I'm going to hold Command once again, and I'm going to hold that anchor point and snap it to the center like that. And now what I can do is hit R on my keyboard, and like that I can rotate this text around the center, around that anchor point. But to do this for multiple texts, it is quite time consuming, so we're going to explore a quick trick in here that will really make your life easier. I'm going to go over this text, and I'm going to go over the stopwatch, hold Alt on your keyboard and click in there. And right here we can write an expression. This is going to be a super simple expression, and we are going to write it right over here. So we're going to type index, and the word index basically refers to this number right over here. It is the number of the layer. In this case, it is 1. And it's going to be index times 15. And 15 is referring to the amount of degrees that I want to rotate each layer. So right now we have 1 times 15, so the value of the rotation would be 15. And if we click out, you can see it rotating by 15 in there, and you can see the rotation in there. Now what is going to happen if I duplicate this layer, duplicate 1, Command D, you can see that for the next layer, this has a value of 2, so index times 15, so 2 times 15 is 30, and the value now is 30, and like that we can rotate these like that. So let us continue to duplicate these, and I'm going to duplicate around 24 times in this case, and as you can see, like in a few seconds in there, we have filled our whole scene with text, and we can just go ahead inside each text and edit that. Now this step is done, and now what we need to do is actually to remove that expression and hold that position. So if we go over rotation here and simply remove the expression by clicking Alt and click in here, you can see that the text goes back to its original place. So this is not what we want. What we want is actually to convert that expression into keyframe values and then removing the expression later on. So to do that, I'm going to go over this timeline in here, and I'm going to maximize it so that I can see all the layers at once in here. And to do that, I can just go over this timeline and press the tilde key. I can also maximize it using this right over here. But in this case, I'm just going to press the tilde key on my keyboard. It's right next to Z if you're using a normal English keyboard. Go over all these layers, hit R on my keyboard, and like that I have shown all the rotation values in here. And I can now just press Option Command A or Alt Ctrl A, and like that I have selected all the rotation values like that. And now I can just right click, go to Keyframe Assistant, and convert expressions to keyframes. And there we go, the expression have just been changed into keyframes. Now all we need to do is to remove that expression, Alt click on the stopwatch, and then just remove all animation altogether, click on that stopwatch once again, and now if I go back in here, I'm going to press the tilde key once again, you can see now that the text have retained its position, and we were able to do this circle of text elements in here in just a few seconds. And since we are talking about automations, I wanted to stop for a second to show you a great tool that actually uses AI to automate text animation. More specifically, I am talking about Submagic, who are our sponsor for today, and it is great to create automated text animations as well as captions and even auto translations for your videos. So let us see how that works. I am inside of Submagic. As you can see, this is a web application, and if I go right over here and I create a project, I can choose what I want to create. So I can generate captions. I can get clips from a longer video to create smaller videos. I can also clip videos and so on. In this case, I'm going to click on generate captions. And in here, I can simply drag and drop my video file. There you go. And now I can choose the source language. By default, it should detect it. It is English. And then I can choose if I want to translate it. So I can turn that on. And then I can choose to translate the captions, but this is really cool. It can also translate the voice. So if you turn this on, you can then select a language and it would translate both your captions and your voice. And I have actually tried this and it works really well. For now, I'm not going to use translation and I'm simply going to generate captions. So let's click on that and wait for it to upload. And once it uploads, you will see your video in this interface in here, and immediately you can select in here which caption format you would like to use. So for this one, I am going to choose the first one. Let's play it. Let's see how it looks. So we can start tweaking it right away. For instance, I'm going to go to the font color. I'm going to make that white. I'm also going to go to the main color. I'm going to make that like a dark blue, like this. Then I'm going to go to the secondary color, and I'm going to make that to that nice blue right over there. Perfect. So I like the colors as they are. Then I can just tweak the caption position, and I can even tweak the font size if I would like that. And if you would like to tweak this further, you can even go inside of here and click on customize. And then from here, you can select, for instance, a different font. So I like using Poppins, and I'm going to change this from light to medium. So I like it like it is. I'm just going to tweak the display words in here. You can tell it how many words you would like to display. So I'm going to limit it to around 5 words, and then I can preview this. Great, so this is perfect. The words are actually spot on my voice, so I like it how it is. I'm going to explore a bit the AI tools that we have in here. So if we go in here, we have many things that we can do. For instance, I can choose to remove silences. This is super good if you're doing YouTube videos, for instance. So simply click that and it would remove the silences for you. And another great option is actually to add magic zoom. So if I click this button in here, and from here, we can choose to click on the magic zooms, click on it, and it will do the zooms automatically for you. Or I can actually add my own zoom depending on the sentence. So for instance, for this one, I'm going to simply add an expo zoom, for instance. And let's see how that looks. If I start now, I can see that nice zoom at the start right over there. Now I can actually do some other things. For instance, if I go into edit captions right over here, I can actually select which captions I would like to keep. In this case, they are quite spot on, so I'm not going to tweak them, but if I want, they are very easy to customize. So for instance, I can simply pick this word and put it right over here. And that way now I can control where that one cuts. For instance, we can see it now that AI is with the sentence above it right over there. And once you are happy, you can simply export this. So I'm going to click the export button in here and click on export. And on the export screen, as you can see, they have added this great feature in here where it can suggest an AI title for you. I can simply click on this button to generate a new one. And then it can also generate a description for you. So I can create, for instance, a short description or even a long version for it. And once you are happy with this, you can simply download this and post it to your social media. So as you can see, this is perfect if you are creating videos for YouTube or social media. I am going to leave a link in the description below where you can find more information about this. And now we can start preparing our scene for animation. So let us bring back that pointer and the effector. I'm going to scroll down in here and I'm going to show these by just clicking on the eye icon. And now I can just position them on top in here so that I can see them more clearly. And now what I need to do is I'm going to pick the pointer in here. Let's move it to the center. I'm going to pick also the effector and I'm going to place it right over the pointer. And I'm going to simply parent this effector to the pointer. And like that, wherever I move this pointer, the effector follows. I'm also going to do the same for the background light. Let's bring that to the middle in here and just simply parent it to the pointer in here. And like that, when we move the pointer, the light follows it like that. That's perfect. And now let's do the next step. We are going to go to Layer, New, and Null Object. And this one is going to be called Text Rotation. And with this null object, we can control the rotation of these text elements right over here. So I'm going to give this a yellow color. And then I'm also going to give the text a yellow color. This way I know that this layer controls these texts. Now I can simply pick all of these text elements in here and simply pairing them to the text rotation right over here. And now if I click on the text rotation, hit R on my keyboard, I can rotate these like that very simply. Now let us move the pointer at the bottom in here. So I'm going to pick the pointer and position it somewhere around here. That's great. And we are going to create a new null layer. I'm just simply going to duplicate the text rotation here, and then I'm going to rename this to pointer rotation. Let's give that a blue color. And I'm going now to tie the pointer, so parent the pointer to that pointer rotation. So now if I rotate this pointer rotation here, hit R on your keyboard and rotate it, you can see that like that we can rotate that pointer very easily in a circle. Now the next part is going to be quite simple, but it's going to be different from before because we are working with parented layers. So hang in there till the end to really see how you can accomplish this scene. Great, so now I'm going to start by first animating this pointer rotation. So I'm going to give a keyframe to this pointer rotation, right over here at the start, then go forward a few frames, maybe at around 3.5 seconds in here, and I'm going to rotate this in this direction and stop at around -270 degrees in here. So now we have this animation happening in here where this is rotating like that. And now I would like the text to rotate in the opposite direction. So I'm going to click on the rotation in here for the text rotation, go at the end in here, and we are going to rotate it in the opposite direction. So we're just going to give it like a 60 degrees in here. And like that, we have the text that is rotating clockwise and the pointer that is rotating anti-clockwise like that. That is perfect. Now I'm simply going to pick both of these keyframes in here, go to the graph editor, hit F9 on my keyboard, then just simply pull these so that they end slowly. I'm also going to pick the start keyframes in here, hit F9 on my keyboard, and just pull them very slightly in here so that they would start slowly once again. Let's preview that, and now we have this nice animation right over there. Now one last step that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pick this pointer in here, and I'm also going to give that a secondary animation. Hit P on your keyboard, and I'm going to click on the stopwatch to put a keyframe right over here. I'm going to move that keyframe just around 1 second, and then I'm going to pull this pointer up like this to start from the middle like that. Then go on the last keyframe in here, hit F9 on your keyboard, go to the graph editor, and once again pull this handle in. So now the pointer drops and it turns like that. Super simple, yet very effective. Perfect, now let us make the text react to that pointer. Now I have already covered how to do this process from scratch in multiple videos, so in this video I'm actually going to do this using a preset to make things much faster and even to have a little bit more control over this. But if you'd like to see how you can do this yourselves without the preset, don't worry, you can watch this video right over here, which explains exactly how to do that. So let's go ahead, click on the effector, and I'm going to go to my effects and presets in here, and under user presets, I have installed this presets in here called Mograph presets. Let's open it up, go to Mograph Pro. I am going to use the Pro version. You can also get the basic version. The Pro version just has a little bit more features. So let's open that up. And in this case, we actually have the text layers in here that are parented to this null layer. So in this case, we need to use the world version and not the normal version. Even if you are following the other tutorial video, make sure that you actually use the world version that I explain in that video right over there. So let's go ahead, go inside of the Mograph Pro world, and we are simply going to select the effector and just double click on the Mograph Pro effector. Double click on that, and there we go, the preset have been added to that layer. Great, now let us set these text layers as children of that effector. And we need to turn these to 3D, make sure to turn those to 3D before, then simply go to Mograph Pro 3D layer. So you would apply these on 3D layers. Double click on that, and there we go, these now are being affected by that effector. So let's go to that effector, and now I'm going to go to a part where the pointer is closer to the text, so somewhere around here for instance, and let's go ahead and go right into affected properties. So right now everything is set to 0 or to default values in here, so nothing is happening. But if I increase the scale in here, for instance, I increase it to 120, you can see that all the layers that are close to this are actually being increased in size in here, and this is exactly what we want. Now I'm going to tweak this slightly. I'm going to go to the effector in here, and I'm going to reduce the radius in here, just so I only affect the layers closer to that. That is perfect. And now the next thing that I want to do is actually also to affect the opacity. So I want the layers that are not near the effector to actually be lighter. So I'm going to go and select all of those text layers in here, hit T on my keyboard and reduce their opacity. Let's give that 20%. Like that, all the layers are light, but the layers closer to that effector, and we can even emphasize that by bringing the effector even closer to this text in here, you can see that they are actually set to 100%. If we have set the opacity to 10, that would actually be dimmer. So let's set that back to 100. And there we go. Now those are set to 100. And like that, in just under a minute, you can see how you can use that preset to actually do this whole animation. So this really helps you to make your process faster. Now, another extra benefit of this preset is actually that you can affect multiple things. So if we look under affected properties in here, you can find that apart from scale, we also have opacity, rotation, position, and color, etc. So anything that we have in here, we can modify, and that would be reflected on the layers in here that are close to the pointer. So let's, for instance, try rotation. Let's go on Y rotation. You can see that being affected. So it's affecting the Y rotation. You can also affect the X rotation, like that. So like that, you can really see how you can tweak this animation. And we can also affect things like the position and so on. But let us undo this for now. And the really great feature of the Pro version of these presets, so the Mograph Pro, is actually that you can create layer-specific control over each layer in here. So to show you very clearly how that works, we can select a text layer from here. We can go to this affecting here layer-specific control, which would be added automatically for you when you make them as child layers. And you can simply click Override Properties. Now, as you can see, this jumps to another position here. That is because we have these values in here. If we put them back to 0, that will jump right back. Now, what I can do is actually I can give this a different scale value in here. So for instance, I can give it like a 60% scale. And like that, you can see how all the other layers are being affected by the properties of the effector. But the specific one has its properties overridden. So it's taking 60% instead of that 120% that we have in here. Like that, the animation would work like this. And you can do this for any layer. And as you can imagine, this is super useful to create very specific animations. If you would like to get this preset, just go into my description. I'm going to leave all the links right over there. You will also find a link to the video that explains how to do this without the preset. Finally, we are going to see how we can create this example. This is super cool. We have the same concept in here. We have the pointer that is coming in and highlighting the text, but we have something extra going on here. If we go into this, we can see that apart from the text, there are also secondary animations happening. For instance, there's this button animation that is popping up, and there's also this color change, and there's also that nice line that is underlining each word. So there are many animations happening together exactly when the pointer passes over these buttons. As you can imagine, this is super useful, especially when it comes to UI design, where you would like to have a pointer that is hovering over different buttons. So let's see how we can do this. I am going to jump back to our first scene where we had the pointer pulling the text, and all I am going to do is delete the text right over here. So delete everything. I still have the effector, the pointer, and the background light, and now I am going to create a new text layer. Let's position it right over there, and I'm going to call that button. We're going to select that, and we are going to align it vertically and horizontally in here so that it's completely centered, and then we are going to go to layer and pre-compose. Let's call this button 1, press OK, and there we go. If we toggle this button to remove the transparency in here, we can see that text inside of this composition. Now, of course, this composition is quite large for this button, so we're just going to go to composition settings, and we're going to adjust the size. Make sure that the lock is on in here, and then I'm going to set a height of around 200, press OK. Now I am going to add my first shape, so I'm going to go over this rectangle tool, select the rounded rectangle tool, and then just double click. Rename this to background. I'm going to position that below in here, press U and U to bring up the size in here, and I'm going to reduce it in size. That is perfect, and now I'm also going to give it a different color, like this darker color right over here, and press OK. Next, we are going to create a line, so just pick the pen tool, and then click right over here where you want it to start, hold down Shift, and click at the end right over here. Now I have that line. It already has a gradient, but I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to first rename this, enter, and I'm going to type in line. If you go inside of stroke in here, make sure that you're using linear gradient, and then you can simply give it 2 different colors right over here. Instead, in here, I'm going to actually give it 3 colors. So I'm going to add a color right over here at the end, and I would like to give it like this nice orange color, and press OK. Then we can simply pick this little button in here, move it all the way here. One final thing that we are going to add is actually this drop shadow. So let's go to the background, right click, and go to Layer Styles and Drop Shadow. So it's right over here, Drop Shadow. We're going to go down here, find Drop Shadow, and we're going to give that a nice color. So let's give that like a nice blue color like that. Press OK, and I'm going to increase the size just a little bit in here and drop the opacity to just 20%. I'm going to select the background once again. I'm going to go to Effects and Presets, type in Light Sweep, and just drag and drop this right over here. And now, as you can see, this creates this nice glare over it. I'm going to increase its width. I'm going to select Linear, and I'm also going to go to the Edge Intensity and drop it a bit, and also drop the edge thickness to just 1. And there we go, we have our button. Now I'm going to go over the background, and I'm going to hit T on my keyboard to drop a little bit its opacity to around 40%. One final thing that we need to add is a gradient over this text. So we're going to select that text, find gradient ramp in here, and we can drop that right over here. And now we can position these 2 pointers in here, right over there, and we can give these different color. So let's select that color, and we can select that color right over there. Great, and now our button is done, and with that done, we can animate this. So I'm going to go to the 2-second mark, and I'm going to toggle the stopwatch on of every property that I would like to animate. So first, I would like to animate the end of ramp. That would be this one. I'm going to toggle the stopwatch of that. I'm also going to toggle the stopwatch of the background opacity in here. I would like to animate that. Go on the opacity of this as well, T, and toggle the stopwatch on that. I'm going to go over the line, and I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to add that property trim paths in here so that I can animate it. So right down below in here, add trim paths, and from here, if I open this up, I can see that I can animate the end in here. So I'm going to set that to 100% and toggle its stopwatch as well. And finally, we're going to go over the background, and we're going to toggle the stopwatch of the center right over here. Click outside in here, hit U, and that will reveal all the keyframes that we have right over there. Now we need to go to the 0-second mark, and we can start animating these. So this one, I'm going to set it to 0. We're going to go to the gradient ramp in here, and we're going to move this all the way here. We're going to set the opacity to 30 in here as well. We are going to also go over the background in here and set the opacity to 0. The center sweep, we are going to move it as well. We're going to move it all the way here like that. Finally, I would also like to animate the color of this, of the end color. So we're going to toggle the stopwatch from there, hit U and U on your keyboard to show that keyframe in there. I'm going to add another keyframe at the end in here and go to the start and give that like a dark color like this. And like that, I have this animation now where everything is turning on like that. So our basic animation is done for the button. Now we can jump back to the previous composition. So we can go to this composition, and we can see that animation right over here. And if I would like to have multiple buttons of this, what I can do is simply duplicate this. So I'm going to duplicate this around 6 times. And we can move this up. And as we have done before, move the other one down, select them all, go to the Align tool and distribute them vertically like this. And now we have multiple buttons right under each other like that. Perfect. So now all we need to do is to actually animate them as the pointer is getting closer to them. Now if I go over the effector in here, I still have these effects, the radius strength, and the position XYZ from the previous scene. I just need to add that expression to the position to tweak the position right over here. So I am going to bring in my PDF from before. I am going to select the position expression for here. Make sure you select it all. Command C to copy. Then I'm going to go over the position of this P, toggle the stopwatch, hold Alt and click, and paste it right over here. And make sure that you turn it to 3D as well. Don't forget that. Just turn it to 3D. Turn all of these to 3D as well. There you go. Now I'm simply going to copy this, copy expression only, and paste it over all the other buttons. Command V. Great. So now, as you can see, wherever the pointer is in here, they are being attracted to it. I want it to act the opposite way, so I'm going to go to the effector, and I'm going to push it the other way somewhere around here, and I'm also going to lift it slightly up like this. So now, as I move this effector in here, you can see them reacting, the button is reacting to it. But we still don't have the secondary animations that are happening in our other example. Property 1 from. We are going to duplicate that, and this one is going to be named property 1, 2. Make sure that these are named 100% like this. Now we can go to one of these buttons, for instance this one. We can right-click over it and we can go to time and enable time remapping. Now the time remapping, what it does, it basically would remap the time right over here. So if I add a value of 0 in here, you can see that this now is taking the time of the start of this button. If I change this value to 2 seconds in here, you can see now that this is actually taking the value at the end of this button. I'm going to remove this keyframe and I'm going to go to my PDF right over here, go to the end of it where we have the proximity-based property 1 adjustment. Simply pick this up, copy it, Command C, and then we can go right over here and paste this expression over this time remap. So hold Alt and click on the stopwatch, paste it here, Command V, and we can see it working right over there. By default, it's set to 0. And if we go to the effector right over here, we can set the property 1 from 0, that would be the start of the animation, that is 0. And the property 1, 2, we can set that to 2. And that would be the length, the whole length of the animation. And now I can simply pick this time remap, copy it, Command C, and paste it over all the other buttons. So Command V. And now we can see this working right over here. So let's pick the effector and we can see it working right over there. If we move it right here, right over the button, we can see it working properly like that. Perfect. So now all you need to do is to actually animate this effector right over these and you would have this very nice effect. So that is basically it, guys. I hope that you find this useful. And once again, if you are interested in getting the Mograph preset, simply check the link in the description below. It will give you so much flexibility in your projects. Also, don't forget to comment below if you have anything else that you would like to learn.